My name is Vijay Swami, and I'm co-founder of ZNow. Normally, this keynote is given by our star presenter, CEO Pari Natarajan. How many of you here know Pari? All right. Yeah, we could make this work. Was that? So when he told me that I should be doing this presentation, I've been nervous for the last like 30 days. After watching a bunch of Tony Robbins' video, I basically said, that's not going to work. Let's seek AI help. And our machine learning team came through. Vamsi, who's at the back, Vamsi and I have been debating this concept, and we said, let's stick to the characteristic of this event, and let's actually bring up a chatbot as a companion to assist me in giving all the data, right? So let's do it. Let's try how we are trying to use chatbot to present like Pari. Hello?
Greetings.
How are you?
Feeling wonderful.
How can I present like Pari?
Based on analyzing Pari's last 100 presentations, I found a few common themes. Product management jobs will vanish. Disruption. Send jobs to Bengaluru. And begin or end with time is now.
So that will be the framework for my presentation. I'll touch some of these throughout the course of the presentation. So hopefully the folks who know Pari could relate to that. Is that? All right. Is that your theme? Okay. All right. I want to begin by dedicating this session to Stephen Hawking. I think he's one of the phenomenal brain in this field, and without addressing him, this event won't be complete. So I want to take a minute and remember him. If you look at the current state of AI, it is no longer in the labs or in the minds of scientists and mathematicians. It is actually translated into actual tangible initiatives. And earlier, in mid-2017, we started mapping some of the earning call transcripts. And we used machine learning to really see what is in the minds of CEOs. So we tracked about 250 CEOs. And when we analyzed across vertical, be it mining, be it retail, be it auto, technology, at least there is one or two initiatives that the CEOs are thinking in terms of what we call as the grand game initiatives. It has some relationship with machine learning or artificial intelligence, right? By some estimates, Preeti shared some estimates, and Nilesh also talked about how China is positioning to be about $150 billion in AI. By some analyst estimates, by 2020, AI spend, ML spend would be around $400 billion. Now that's an astronomical number because it's almost like 25% of every dollar spent on the technology, right? So let me use Shakti one more time to show you what is in the mind of a traditional auto company, what's in the mind of James Hackett, CEO of Ford, right? Let's take a look at that. Hello, Shakti.
Hi.
Oh, that is the problem. You see that, right? I want to demonstrate that. Can you tell me about Ford Motor Company?
Of course I am.
Can you tell me about Ford Motor Company?
Sure, Vijay. What would you want to know?
Can you tell me about James Hackett?
Do you mean James Hackett, CEO of Ford Motor Company?
Yes. Yes.
Hey Vijay, I analyzed James Hackett's earnings calls interviews. He seems to be switching gears for a few grand games around autonomous vehicles. James seems to be determined to solve the problems brought along with urbanization, like increased traffic flow, emissions, fuel efficiency through their forthcoming smart vehicles. Electric vehicles. James has been excited about the setup of new EV hub at Flat Rock, Michigan. Also, I have found something really exciting. James might drive forward towards adoption or launching their own cryptocurrency. Huh? That's all pretty cool stuff he's thinking about, don't you think?
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to help.
So as you could see, this trend is common across the CEO's mental map, right? And if any of you want to get hold of this chatbot, which we have put out to disrupt Pari, contact Vamsi. So I think the focus of my presentation is going to be 3 components, right? One, we're going to present a couple of case studies, which we have been tracking for almost like 2 years. And we are going to get into the challenges of ML initiatives. We have studied about 200 plus ML initiatives and interviewed researchers, ran a structural research program. And finally, we're going to present our long-term view on some of these challenges. So those 3 components I will basically run through. And I know we are running against time, but I will make sure that I will stay on track as much as possible. In 2016, Zinnov launched a framework called Swarm Disruption Framework. Right? This framework helped us, put us in an advantage. We were actually a little ahead. We wanted to view the ecosystem from the lenses of startup. What type of disruptions startups are bringing into the ecosystem. We were also looking enterprises ML initiatives, but again, we would always map it back to the startup ecosystem, right? While doing that, we came across 2 fantastic case studies. One is a case study of ThyssenKrupp, right? It is an industrial company and world's largest elevator company. Any guess on how many elevators they have globally? Just take a rough guess. Anyone?
If it's Kona.
What is it for Kona? Okay, great. ThyssenKrupp has about 1.3 million elevators across the globe, right? So their assets are very, very big. The problems are very big too, because when the elevator goes down, you are looking at a scenario where the customer is very mad, and then the technician who's going to fix the elevator is handling a very tough customer, right? So you have sort of a high stress situation in that loop. When ThyssenKrupp looked at this, they wanted to change the perspective, right? They wanted to make it proactive, they want to make it preemptive. So what did they do? They put a lot of IoT sensors on all the elevators, use Microsoft Azure Cloud to store that data in terms of usage, and use Power BI to really visualize that data, and finally bring it into ML module so that through some apps, the predictive model finding about which elevator is going to actually fail is sent to the technician. Now the technician suddenly is looking like a hero, right? Because he's going there before the elevator breaks down, and they realized quite a bit of savings in terms of downtime. The reason why we are very passionate about this case study is how intensely they laid out the vision right from the beginning. It was never about the models, never about the technology. It was always about the business outcome, right? Now, we have a similar type of case study, which we followed the last 6 months. We did a lot of field research. We came up with this startup. This startup is doing some wonderful things. It actually impacts half of humanity, right? I have a short video. Let me play that.
My name is Geeta. I am the CEO and co-founder of Niramai Health Analytics. It's a deep tech AI company trying to solve the biggest problem in women's health today, that is breast cancer. Breast cancer is killing more than 500,000 women every year. At Niramai, we have developed a new method of doing breast cancer screening, based on a technology that we've invented called thermalytics. It is using artificial intelligence algorithms on thermal images. We use a very simple device such as this one to capture the heat distribution on the chest of the lady, and our software, which is based on machine learning and AI, actually are able to detect abnormal tissues on the chest and determine whether it is malignant or not.
Let's give a big round for this company for what they are doing. Right? You know, when Pari Vamsi and I started ZNow, we were always passionate about finding these type of companies who are, of course, we all have to make money, but there is a stronger purpose beyond that. And we were very thrilled with what they have done, and they have a small team, about 10 plus data scientists, and what they are doing with such a small team is just amazing, right? It is, as we track the ML initiative, right, we also find it's not success everywhere, right? For every success there is a challenge, and some of the challenges are some challenges we are facing even the last 72 hours, right? Admiral Insurance Company developed an app that would permit or deny insurance to drivers based on their Facebook post, right? And they really did not think through the regulatory aspects of such a model. Even though they had a very powerful model, they could not scale it, and they had to basically abandon it, right? And in the last 72 hours, we have seen so many discussions about regulations, use of regulatory aspects of social media data, right? We had a roundtable like 2 weeks back in oil and gas industry, and even though they have made a lot of progress, we found that there is so much resistance to share best practices to collect data through IoT, for example. So let's say there are n number of offshore drill rigs you want to collect data from. Each company needs to re-engineer and find out how to collect that data, right? So there is the lack of collaboration is high in some of the industries. And my favorite category of failure is unanimous AI, right? Anybody know the Kentucky Derby horse race here? Awesome, I see a few hands. Yeah, it's one of the world's top 10 horse race. The horse race itself happens only for 2 minutes, right? Unanimous AI predicted the winner for the first year very precisely, and they got carried away. They got great press, and they failed miserably the second time. They went and they said that's just an issue with the algorithm. We're going to tweak a few things. We're going to feed more horses data. Or we didn't read the horse, we read the surroundings. All kinds of analysis went through. And they tried it one more time 2 months back, and they failed again, right? So I am no horse expert, but I think we should leave animal instincts to animals, right? But these are not, in the grand scheme of things, these are not bigger challenges, right? There is one big challenge which we gravitated towards. Beyond all this, the fundamental challenge that everybody faces, right? Any guess as to what that could be? What is the biggest challenge you face in any machine learning AI initiative?
You could say black box approach or a white box approach, depending on what is inside, what are the variants and so on. And so all the data are not bought equal inside. That's the most important issue. Big data, AI, machine learning.
So transparency of algorithms, could we say that?
Transparency, they're not bought. All the data don't have the same weightage.
Got it, got it.
Assume, that's thing.
That is definitely a challenge. Looking at a little higher level, what could be a challenge that connects all these initiatives, in your opinion? Like the biggest challenge, why we are not translating use cases into models, into outcomes? Data, definitely.
That goes back to the equality of all the data, right?
Normalizing the data sets, analyzing it. And what do you need to normalize, analyze, and create the data set is the talent, right? This talent pool is concentrated in few geographies, and to complicate that even more, It is concentrated with few companies. Across these locations, the big tech giants, Pari often refers that as tech mafias, right? They actually hold a lot of these machine learning talent. And our research shows that the total installed talent pool for machine learning, after removing some noise for various data science stack, right? It's about 92,000. This is the global available talent pool focused in machine learning, right? But if you look at the demand, there is 400,000 job openings that happens almost on a year, right? So at any time, you can see about 90 to 100,000 job openings open across the various job boards. And if you assume that that's a cycle of about 2 to 3 months, then you're looking at about 400,000 job openings. So 4 times more than the installed talent pool, which already has very well paying jobs. Now, when we faced with this set of challenges, we want to do something very different, right? We did not want to arrive at, yes, it's a talent acquisition problem, you have to pay more and bring them in. That kind of did not sound well with our consultants. So we launched a very systemic research project to see what are companies doing, companies who don't have access to this talent, what are they doing, and what could they do, right? We basically brought a lot of people together, customers, and had like a working session, right? And we came up with this framework called Perspicum, which is an extension of the swarm disruption framework. Why did we name Perspicum? I think that goes to your point on transparency. Perspicum means transparency, right? So we want to bring a lot more transparency into all these processes, right? So what we did was we identified by industry what are those job descriptions or job titles that are maybe 1 degree, 2 degrees closer to machine learning, right? Companies, machine learning use cases are universal, right? And people have a lot of ideas, but they have a narrow lens of understanding who can do machine learning, right? So if you look at insurance companies, they have a lot of actuaries, and when we talk about machine learning, they often think about how do we taper down the talent, right? The actuary's talent, because a lot of that job is going to get automated. But if you look at the characteristics of an actuary, today's actuary is yesterday's statisticians, and day before yesterday is operations research professional, right? So when we look at Kaggle profiles, how many of you here know Kaggle? The online social platform where you could post projects on data science and get it, right? We went and analyzed the profiles. We already noticed about 4,000 actuaries have applied their skills, learned new skills like Python or R or whatever that may be, and have solved some cutting edge problems, right? And the US itself has a huge talent pool of actuaries, and this can be a good career path. So we now have documented 250 job roles, be it biostatistician in pharma, investment analyst, climatologist, inventory control specialist. So you could actually use some of this lateral talent. That is point number 1. It says I have 3 minutes, so let's see how I can complete this. The other thing that Pari has been talking about is the traditional project manager job has almost vanished, right? I think that was the first point that Shakti gave. What do we mean by that, right? The PM job itself is disrupted, but it has gained more importance, right? That is because in addition to the PMs cannot stop just by giving wireframes to developers and say, this is it, right? They really have to understand the data assets and mark it out so that the machine learning team is not spending and understanding doing their job. Because if the PM job is not optimal, then That means that the machine learning team had to do that, thereby it is impacting on their capacity, and it's going to turn into either impact the time to complete the project, or it's going to demand need of more machine learning people, thereby you are in this same talent problem, right? So we have documented multiple existing roles that which needs to operate a little differently, right? So similarly, data analyst, right? Data analyst role, modern day data analyst, it's always a good thing to get like an R skill or a Python skill, because you can communicate a lot better with your machine learning team, right? So we have libraries like that, and that is something our team came up with. The third component is companies acquire a lot of other companies for talent, right? And so many times they acquire for customers, market, in some cases for talent as well. We launched one fast tracker study early to 2017, I believe, and it tracked about 1,000 profiles in this study of fast tracker, basically people who got promoted quicker, right? When we looked at this data, we found that 20% of the fast track leaders are not homegrown, right? They have come from one of these acquisitions. And there is one graph here I want to point out. On the x-axis, we have factor frequency and the fast track index. We have pretty much mapped the qualities that will get an employee into a fast tracking path, right? And look at where entrepreneurial experience is rated for software industry, right? That is the reason why you see 20% of the fast track people come from acquiring company, right? And we also tested the hypothesis if fast track leaders are college dropouts, etc. We really didn't find any evidence. So I told my son he has to stay in college, right, after the study. So this is one study that helps you understand if you don't fix this problem of leadership, fast tracking thing, you may lose some of the talent that help you do the pilot and took you to the path where you can actually start acquiring other companies, right? And that can actually mean loss of talent, and we want to fix that quicker. Any questions on that? I want to take one question on that. This is a little complex side, so I didn't do very well in the dry runs on this slide. So any question on this?
I have a question. When you look at M&A, it all depends on the domain and the vertical. If you do across many verticals, if you do across domains and across countries where M&A is done, and the size of the, it all depends on different M&A. I mean, I do M&A routine,
So we looked at by industry. So this is an industry by industry cut.
Which industry did you look at?
We looked at retail, auto, software, like that. So, all right. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip some components of our framework, right? So one thing I will run through quickly is a lot of companies can take advantage of the ecosystem, right? So we have State Farm, when they wanted to pilot their machine learning initiative, right? They approached Kaggle and they wanted to use the dashboard images to study whether the driver is wearing seat belt, whether they're taking selfie with the backseat people, and all other factors, and they wanted to build a machine learning model on that. This entire model was developed by a team of Kagglers, and State Farm actually puts this, it's a public case study, and they really talk high about how this machine learning initiative jump-started their machine learning initiative, right? So this is one very valuable resource for you to tap into to really jump-start your machine learning use cases. Let me go quickly to our longer-term view on talent, right? Early this year, we put out a simulation model, right? I initially started by saying that the talent is concentrated in few areas, few locations. We wanted to simulate how would the impact be over the next 10 to 12 years, right? And our view is, as startup hubs mature and as ecosystems in those locations mature, we will see more and more new locations created, right? Be it the tier 2 cities in the US, be it the emerging African tech hubs, which are focusing more on the commercial side from the social side, be it the tier 2 cities in India, there is about 100 smart cities coming up, be it because of the movement of population in China from towards the West, because of one-child policy, people going back to their hometowns to take care of their parents. A combination of factors will actually expand, and we hope that there will be more than 1 million machine learning professionals across the world, right? And that is the good news, right? That is the optimistic scenario that we have built. A lot has to happen in order for us to make this a reality. One, our migration pattern assumptions have to hold true, right? A biggest component of this simulation is the assumptions. How are people moving within the country? What is, from Africa, are they moving into the cities nearby other countries, or are they moving into Europe? We consider all these dynamics and really predict this model. But in addition to assumptions of social components, assumptions of economic components coming true, we have one more thing that needs to happen, right? And that is the aspiration of the company. Courage to take bold steps. The leaders who are here, the entrepreneurs who are here, need to spread and distribute the technology and really go and take it to the grassroots, right? Because the first wave of globalization hasn't really changed the income disparity in countries, right? So there is still a gap between top 1% and the bottom 75%. But hopefully, machine learning can change this, right? And we realize that the era of consultants documenting case studies and coming, and other people case studies and coming and delivering is almost over. And we realize we have a big responsibility as well. And early this year, we have started a machine learning data tagging lab in a very small rural town. It has about 20,000 people. It is our CEO's hometown. We're going to give opportunity to disadvantaged women. We're going to give opportunities to people who have done exceptionally well in school, but they couldn't continue for economic considerations, right? We're going to give opportunities, and we're going to teach them about how to create data sets, how to tag social data sets. How do you take resume and put it in the cloud, for example, right? Put a few tags, put it in the cloud. And that creates huge data assets for our company, which we can come and show cool simulation like the one that we showed, right? So this is what we are trying to do. And we often wonder, why do we need to do this, right? And there is no right reason. And I said, passion is what drives us the most beyond anything else. And I leave you with this quote, which I found very, very inspiring, right? When something is important enough, you just do it, right? You don't double think, you make it happen. And I hope that I can count on each one of you to take this technology, distribute it, bring new talent pool, and prove our simulation right, so that we can actually say, hey, our simulation got right 10, 15 years from now, and we can surpass companies like Gartner and McKinsey. Thank you so much. Appreciate the chance to give this keynote. If you have any questions, I'll take it.